Coming up, a shocking shooting at an Ohio high school. A shooter opens fire in the cafeteria. Police say the shooter is in custody. We've got the details.
And the baby boomers are aging and they're using public transportation more than ever. But is the district's metro system ready to deal with the growing number of older metro riders? District Wire News starts now.
Good evening, I'm Simone Andrews.
And I'm Nadia Betson.
A morning shooting leaves one high school student dead and 4 injured. Police officials have one suspected shooter in custody. CNN Emily Schmidt has the latest on the investigation.
The school day at Chardon High School began with the kind of images people in this suburban Cleveland community had seen in other places, but didn't expect here.
No, this stuff doesn't happen.
Officials say an armed gunman believed to be a high school student entered the cafeteria and began shooting. The gunman was captured, but not before wounding students.
He actually turned himself in to a couple innocent bystanders just north of the city here in Chardon Township.
Helicopters flew some of the injured students to the hospital. The school went into lockdown, then moved the rest of the students to a nearby elementary school, with worried parents outside.
I'm nervous. I want to know, is the shooter out of the building, or is the shooter still in the building? I want to know. I just want my daughter out of the building.
We are taking 5 parents in at a time.
One school official says mental health professionals are coming to the scene to talk with the students.
I just can't believe anything that's happening. Why would this happen? I mean, your life is worth everything you have.
As they learn more about why a suspect who may have been their classmate would open fire within school walls. I'm Emily Schmidt reporting.
British journalist Mary Colvin was killed in Syria after a rocket hit a makeshift press center. After entering the building, Colvin removed her shoes as a part of the Syrian custom. When Colvin went to retrieve her shoes, a target landed just yards away from her. Colvin's mother, Rosemary Colvin, say aid workers have yet to retrieve her daughter's body from the wreckage. She believes Colvin was a personal target of the Syrian government. The Syrian government has yet to respond.
The primaries have arrived. Today, Michigan and Arizona will hold their first Republican presidential contest in weeks. CNN's Greg Black has the story.
The remaining 4 Republican presidential candidates have just a day to win over voters in Michigan and Arizona. The 2 primaries will be the first nominating contest since Mitt Romney won Maine more than 2 weeks ago. Now he's looking to sweep both of tomorrow's contests.
I need you to get out and vote. Let's take the first step to a better future on Tuesday. All right, guys?
Romney got a boost to his bid yesterday with an endorsement from Arizona Governor Jan Brewer.
I think he's the right man for the right time.
But Romney has a challenge on his hands. Polls show a virtual toss-up in both Arizona and Michigan between him and Rick Santorum, despite Michigan being considered Romney's home turf, the state where his father was governor.
I'm sure Governor Romney, getting into this race, thought he would have to spend $20 and easily cruise to victory in Michigan. And here we are being badly outspent again by his super PAC and his big dollar friends, and we're hanging in there, holding our own.
So far, all of the candidates, except Congressman Ron Paul, have a victory under their belts. Newt Gingrich, who hasn't won since South Carolina's primary last month, says even he doesn't know how it will all end.
It's just like riding the Space Mountain at Disney. You're in the dark, you're not sure where you were, you're not sure where you are, and you're not sure where you're going.
I'm Greg Black reporting.
Protests against Quran burning continue in Afghanistan. In total, at least 29 people, including 2 U.S. soldiers, have been killed in the demonstrations against foreign troops. More than 30 people were wounded and taken to hospital. The violence started after copies of Islam's sacred book were burned at the largest American base in Afghanistan.
The WikiLeaks website published more than 5 million confidential emails from the intelligence firm Stratfor, based in the U.S. A WikiLeaks press release says the messages will reveal Stratfor's web of informers, payoff structure, payment laundering techniques, and psychological methods. The organization's founder, Julian Assange, is currently in Britain fighting extradition to Sweden.
Abortion debate seems to be the central issue for the Republican candidates. It might be, after all, the decisive factor. Daniela Vlasic has more.
Republican candidates have taken opposing stances on abortion and birth control in recent debates. While Santorum is firm on his anti-abortion and anti-birth control views, Romney says this issue shouldn't be at the forefront of the debate. In Michigan, home to the auto industry bailout, experts believe the economy will be a greater factor in voter decisions.
I think it plays into the narrative of Santorum being more conservative. So maybe for women who are more conservative, that is one more reason to support him. But I don't think, my guess is that's probably not a major issue in a state like Michigan, where jobs are such an important issue.
An ABC Washington Post poll shows that social issues have not been of overriding concern to conservative women voters. Despite Santorum's conservative views, women's support of Santorum has drastically increased since January. Other polls also show a close split with women voters, 34% favoring Santorum and 33% favoring Romney, a good indication that social issues are not swaying women votes. At least one woman feels differently.
I think if we're able to take a look at statistics and if we actually talk to women and talk to the majority of women want access to birth control, and I think that will play a really important role in who they decide to vote for in the end.
It may not be in the primaries where this issue affects the vote, but it may play an important role in the final presidential election. I'm Daniela Vlasic, District Wire News.
President Obama has praised governors for their work at the meeting of the National Governors Association. He says they have one of the best but toughest jobs around. He stressed that in spite of disagreements, they will be able to find common grounds to move forward. Gay marriage might become legal in Maryland. The state Senate voted 25-22 in support of gay marriage bill, which was approved last week by the House of Delegates. Governor Martin O'Malley is set to sign the legislation on the 1st of March. However, the law won't come into effect until Maryland voters are for it. If the bill is passed, Maryland will become the 8th state to allow same-sex marriages.
Relatives of Virginia Tech survivors and victims asked Governor Bob McDonnell to keep a law that allows the purchase of only one handgun a month. McDonnell talked to parents of the 2007 massacre survivors and victims over the phone. A spokesman for the governor says he appreciates hearing directly from the families on this issue.
Some people complain that Metro is closed for renovation too often. It might be worse. Transportation advisory groups propose to make changes to the Metro system to accommodate baby boomers. Lydia Bayud has the details.
The first wave of the baby boomer generation hit retirement age last year. A recent report by TRIP, a national think tank, and the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials advises that the nation's transportation system has to adapt to the needs of the boomer generation. In urban areas like D.C., that means that Metro might need to make some improvements. Some Metro riders have suggestions.
As people are getting older, it would just be nice upon stopping to hear that very loud and clear where you are.
Question, it's tough on older people who, when the escalators are not working and you've got to climb up them, obviously, but you can use the elevators.
TRIP says that transit systems nationwide should provide more bus services into rural areas, improve facilities, and provide more formal and informal rideshare and taxi services.
Public Affairs professor Daniel Mullins says he expects Metro will likely make some of these improvements.
It's been adapting to the needs of that population and the population of other age groups throughout its history.
Retirees make up about 11% of the population in D.C., and that will only continue to grow. Metro says it's doing its best with its infrastructure and that it already has policies in place to accommodate boomers and older riders, such as discount fare cards and reserved seating. Metro couldn't say, however, whether it will be implementing any of the report's other recommendations. For District Wire News, I'm Lydia Bayud.
You're about to pay more for your restaurant meals in Fairfax. County officials propose to raise the food tax by 4% to collect the funds for the transportation projects. This tax cannot be simply imposed. It can be approved by the Central Assembly or supported by Fairfax residents at the referendum.
Doctors say that 2 Prince George's County firefighters faced long recoveries. A wind-fueled fireball blasted through a house and onto them last Saturday. One firefighter, Ethan Sorrell, suffered respiratory burns in his throat and all the way down to his lungs. Sorrell is on a respirator. Doctors won't know the full extent of his injuries until they are able to remove the respirator. The other firefighter, Kevin O'Toole, is scheduled for a skin graft surgery and will be in the burn unit for 6 weeks.
Parking in Bethesda is becoming more and more limited, but parking lot closures have been placed on hold. Laura Rufkin has the full story.
A good parking space is hard to find in Bethesda, Maryland, and it's about to become even harder. The city has announced that the large parking lot located on the corner of Bethesda Avenue and Woodmont Street will be closing on April 1st. The parking lot provides convenient access to the shops along Bethesda Row. Locals, as well as visitors, are not happy that the lot will be closing soon.
It's going to be a mess. I grew up in Bethesda. I lived here my whole life, except for college. And it's already really overcrowded with all the new developments here. So when they close this lot, and everyone that normally parks here tries to go into the public lot down the road or up on Wisconsin that are both usually full already, it's just going to be a mess.
Officials say that the lot will be turned into a mixture of retail space, condos, and apartments. Some local businesses worry that the lack of parking will make it difficult for their customers to visit Bethesda.
It can get crazy on weekdays. I know there's the 2 garages, which are both, pretty expensive, but otherwise it's interesting trying to find a space down here, especially on weekend nights. Yeah, it's crazy.
The project is estimated to take almost 3 years, and there has been no word on if the structure will include any additional parking. I'm Laura Rifkin for District Wire News.
Coming up after the break, gas prices on the rise. It could get worse if you believe it. Maryland Governor O'Malley is backing legislation that could increase gas prices by 6 cents.
And a deadly train derailment in Canada leaves 3 people dead. Find out what happened.